procedures, they've covered blacklisting, they've covered civil recoveries and disciplinary hearings, which are part of their recommendation. And I think that, these are areas that we would need to follow up. Then the PPE, the investigation there, which was a special proclamation, I think is something which is ongoing. Although there are 10 finalized, there are a whole range of issues emerging there. And I think, again, we look at the detail and see how, as Scopa, we can support the work of the SIU. And then, of course, the request about the payments. The provincial government has a policy of 30 days payment, as has National Treasury, but it would appear that there is defaulting. Now, that's just a kind of summary of what I've seen. I see the hand of Honorable Kaula. I see the hand of Honorable Cele. I see the hand of Honorable Impumelelo Zulu. I don't see any other hands at this point. I could be wrong. But let's take you in this order. Honorable Kaula, Honorable Cele, Honorable Zulu, and if there are any others, we'll allow your time. Honorable Kaula.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, Honorable MEC, SIU. Thanks for a wonderful presentation, very concise. A few comments from me, Chair. The first one is that I have raised this before. It still remains a concern. I don't know how we sort it out. The issue of the referrals for TC to government departments and relevant authorities, but where you find out that the punishment that was given by the process leaves a lot to be desired. It's just a slap in the wrist. And secondly, Chair, the issue that we have also spoken about several times, which we also need to tighten up as a province, of officials who, when they find out that there is something pursuing them, they jump ship, they disappear, and either resurface elsewhere or disappear forever. That issue still remains a concern, Chair. And lastly, the issue pertaining to PPE, SIU report to education in the province. You'll recall that the previous MEC several times voiced out that he was resisting to action the report. But what surprised me was that he had not taken that matter for legal review. He was just resisting and contesting the report, but not taking any legal steps towards that. Maybe that is the reason why, in respect of this report, you see that education has been invoiced, but there's nothing that has come as a payment. I don't know how we sort that out, Chair, because that matter still remains outstanding, because there was a report, there was a recommendation by the SIU for education to action the issues in the report, but the MEC was resisting and saying he was opposed to what SIU had found out. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Kaula. I can see some resolutions that we will have to take going forward, but let me just hand over to Honorable Cele, who will be followed by Honorable Zulu.
Thank you so much, Chair. Greetings to you and the honorable members on the platform. Greetings to the MEC of Finance. Greetings to Mr. Gosai and his team and the legislature team. One, Chair, would like to firstly by beginning to appreciate the fact that we have this kind of a platform where we get briefed with all this information that we've just been given by Mr. Gosai. Mine is just one question on the issue of non-payment of invoices by departments to SIU. I just need to check, Chair, maybe a point of clarity to say that does SIU invoice departments on the money that they get a portion of the money that they go after and claim, or they are budgeted for by departments. I just need to get the clarity on how are these departments now owing them for doing their work. I did get the point where he says they are partially funded, 60% funded by government. I just need to find that point of clarity, Chair. Otherwise, to appreciate the work that they do, it's quite important, the fact that they are able to bring back to the coffers of government about 10 million. That must be applauded, Chair. I thank you.
Thanks, Honourable Cele. Honourable Zulu, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Chair. You'll bear with me, Chair. Angeko kwindawo right network yami imbe. But Chairperson, let me appreciate, or let me start by greeting the new MSc for Finance, honourable members present, the members of the SIU also present. Wanted to appreciate the reports from the SIU, and I think that doing the best work that we require from such units, which is fighting corruption. But I just have three concerns, but the one has been covered by Honourable Tsele in terms of the invoices from the that they are sending to the departments. I thought maybe there is a budget for the SIU somewhere else. I'm not aware of how they work their operations, but I think I might get a response from the SIU in terms of how do they get their budget and in terms of their operations. The second one, I'm worried of the reports when they have just completed their investigations and submitted to the president that are not presented to the council. I assume that when the report has been finalized, it can be any forensic reports. I don't know whose task it is. Is it the task of the municipality to present to the council if it's it was the municipality, or it is the SIU that's supposed to present the report to the council? I'm just confused into that one, because we'll have reports that have never been presented until a certain administration leaves office. So I need that clarity. And also, I want just to get the relations between yourself and the treasurer. I know that there's an issue of updating the risk register. How far with it? Because sometimes postponing all those issues creates more space for those who are corrupt to continue doing their corruption programs. The last one, I wish that what I know is that the SIU sits in the Scopa within the National Assembly. What stops you, SIU, maybe? I'm not sure whether you can't be. We're not allowed to sit within our Scopa meetings in the accountability sessions with departments, so that maybe some of the issues we are able to grab each while departments are presenting their reports. I think those are three things. And the last one, Chair, there was a campaign, of course, that have just it was launched by Honourable Senzo, who was still a premier. I Do Right campaign. I don't know what stops them, what stops the Department of the Premier for continuing with that report. It's just a general question, Chair, that there was a good campaign that was able to renew the consciousness to our employees within government departments. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Zulu, just perhaps on the issue of the payment of the SIU, if I can just make a comment, and I think that the SIU can add, it would be an MOU between the SIU and the relevant department, the way in which even our provincial treasury, when it does work for departments, like with the infrastructure crack team, for example, the department would actually be billed, or when Department of Public Works is the implementing agent for provincial departments. The actual payment is done by the provincial department, although it is to Public Works commissions it and gets paid by the department. So it's almost like they act on your behalf. That's my understanding of it. But thank you for raising that matter. I think all of us will need to be clarified. The second issue is on this issue of the on the matters that are raised about who presents these reports to the councils. I am not sure myself, but I'm sure that the SIU will perhaps assist us there. Certainly in terms of our provincial government, we make the request of departments. We will ask, and the portfolio committee is supposed to be briefed as well on it. And I think that this would be an important matter to look at. Honourable Kaula, the issues you're raising about the referrals, the adequacy of punishment, and the resignation of officials, I think it is something that we would need to raise with the Office of the Premier as the coordinating department, because, you know, there are laws, etc. But let me then hand over to Mr. Gosai and his team.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honourable members, thank you for the questions. If I could just comment on Honourable Kaula's issues raised. In regard to the punishment and meted out in terms of disciplinaries, we unfortunately have no say in that, and that is dealt with by the department. Our members, however, do lead evidence when it comes to the situation of trying to establish the guilt. So in that regard, it's something that we've highlighted as a risk, and it's something that we are dealing with in terms of engaging with the various departments. In terms of Honourable Kele, you've raised the issue of the non-payment of invoices and how the entire system works. Okay, in terms of how we charge fees, in terms of Section 5 of the Special Investigating Units and Special Tribunals Act, we are obliged to charge and recover fees and expenses from a state institution for anything done in terms of this act. So we are now obliged to render an account. And how we render that account is that right at the beginning of an investigation, we enter into an agreement or a memorandum of understanding. We call it a letter of engagement with the department, where we set out the scope of the investigation, what we anticipate the costs of that investigation to be, the resources that we are going to use within that investigation. And that estimate is 9 times out of 10 pretty accurate. There are times that, you know, we could go over, and there are many times that we go under that estimate. So, but it's an estimate that we give the department, and we get the department to acknowledge right at the beginning of the investigation. So that kind of gives the department a sense of what it's going to cost them. In terms of the money that we recover, we are not obliged to set it off. We can't set it off against the money that is owed to us. So as you would see, our bill to the Department of Education was 5.8 million. Our recovery just on the AODs alone was just over 6 million, but we can't set that off. We are obliged to pay that back. It's either to the Central Revenue Fund or to the department themselves. And in that sense, we therefore ask the departments to pay us the money. So we can't do a set-off, so to speak. It would be wonderful if we could, because that way we can recover a lot of our money. In terms of, sorry, I'm just going through the questions. Honourable Zulu, who presents the reports presented to council? Okay. All our reports are not owned by ourselves. They belong to the president. To put it in simple terms, we report directly to the president, and we can report to no one else. So you would see that we even have this kind of hurdle when we submit our invoices to departments. The reports we give them are very basic reports to tell them this is what we've done, these are the resources we've used, these are the hours we've used, and this is where we are in terms of our investigation at a very high level summary. Our detailed reports go to the president's office, and it's the president who then releases that report to the various departments. So it's the presidency that has taken a decision over the last year to 2 years, where all reports, once they are delivered to the presidency, are then released to the relevant department for them to act upon the recommendations or the findings or whatever it is that is required. In terms of reports being presented to council, when we are invited to present a report to council, we will then attend. What we usually do is that we make referrals to a municipality. Those referrals, we are more than happy to come to council to present it. But we don't go and insist on council hearing us out. We wait for that invitation to get to council. So if we are invited, we will attend. The issue of the relationship between Treasury and the SIU in terms of the campaign we have launched, that campaign is part of a number of steps. We've had the first meeting with Treasury. We are waiting on Treasury setting up a bigger meeting with a bigger portion of their staff, where we are to identify these risks before we start putting them down into a document. So that process is well underway. And we are hoping to extend this to various other departments. So once we have finished with Treasury, we will then start with the next department, and we want to spread this around as much as possible. In terms of the SIU sitting at Scopa meetings, to a large extent, we can sit and we can discuss, to a limited extent, investigations we've been involved in. And we are more than willing, if invited, to attend. So in terms of how far we can take our interactions, that's something that we'll need to consider on a case-by-case situation. But that's where we are. I trust I've answered all the questions, Madam Chair, honourable members. If there's anything I've missed out, please kindly remind me and I'll deal with them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Gosai. Honourable Taylor, I can see your hand. I'm not sure if it's an old hand or a follow-up.
No, Chair, it is a follow-up. One wants to appreciate the response from Mr. Gosai, but SIU is quite an important establishment that is assisting us to deal with the issue of corruption. So if they are finding a problem with departments who are not paying them, I am suggesting that perhaps something must be done so that they can recover their money through what they have recovered. I don't know, maybe there's a legislation, Honourable Chairperson, where we can also try and assist to say that we know that most of these departments do not have even the money. There's no money in the coffers of government. So if they do recover the money, they must be able to keep a certain portion of that from that particular department that they're working with. For me, I think it will resolve most of their problems, Honourable Chair. It was just a suggestion. I thank you.
No, thanks, Honourable Taylor. In fact, I've just made a note here. I think as Scopa, going forward from this, what we will do is we'll send a communication to the relevant departments who are owing the funds, and there are quite a few of them, Department of Education. There's about 5 that I've seen, as well as 3 municipalities. The 3 municipalities, okay, this is what I'm proposing we do. We send a letter to the department, that would be the political head as well as the HOD, saying that these are the funds owing to the SIU. We'll send a letter as well, or copy it to the chairpersons of the portfolio committees that are affected, so that the portfolio committee in its oversight can follow up, the MEC in his or her political oversight can follow up, and the HOD will have to account. And I think just for the record, we'll send a copy to Treasury listing all the departments owing funds and the amounts, because there is a position about payment. And I think this will assist, and you are correct, that these amounts will require to be paid. So if members are comfortable with that, I think that is the way forward, that we can deal with that one. Is that all right, members?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair. Okay, because I think,
Okay, Chair.
yeah, I think it's okay that we move forward with it. And then on the second one, we should also send a communication to the departments that have been reported on. Sorry, Chip, members, there's a problem with the communication, the network here. We'll send communication to the departments where that's 7 departments where investigations were finalized, and ask them to give us a report on their implementation of the recommendations from the SIU. And we can get them to either report to us when we meet them, which is not far away, after the AG's report, for the hearings then, they can come and present it. So it's part of that and part of the oversight. We can do the same, sending it to the portfolio committee chair so that they can conduct the oversight. I think for those 2 communications with departments, MECs and the portfolio committee chairs will assist. In fact, the implementation of the recommendations, that's the outcome of investigations, falls under us, as does it's one of the things that Scopa does exercise oversight on, as does the non-payment, because that's a financial issue. It should be reflected in the financial statements as well. So I think, colleagues, that would be a useful way of rounding up this presentation and discussion and the way forward. Kaba, I hope you've been making notes, because we'll need to implement this. I don't see any other hands. Is this all right, colleagues? Can we move off from this?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
We move.
So we would like to, Mr. Gosai and your team, thank you very much for this presentation, which is part of our regular feedback. We will do the follow-ups, because I know that it does assist. Previously, you had asked for assistance with the Department of Agriculture. We had intervened, and we did see some light. And here, with our new MEC as well, I'm sure Treasury, and I'm glad that she's had the benefit of the briefing, Treasury will also follow up, as well as on its own implementation of recommendations. MEC, you'll see that there are 2 investigations with a fair amount of money involving your department. So I'm sure you will follow up on that. So thank you very much, Mr. Kosai and your team. We can release you, although you are welcome to remain. This time it's a virtual meeting. We had planned physical, but it didn't quite work out. But thank you very, very much to the SIU. And we'll now go to item 6 on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Gosai and your team. We'll then move to item 6 on the agenda, which is the presentation by the KZN Public Service Commission. At this point, let me welcome somebody who's not really a stranger to us, Commissioner Yasmin Bacchus. She has served in the provincial government departments in the past, so she's a familiar face, but not in this role as the head of the KZN Public Service Commission. And as you know, colleagues, we have had reports from the KZN Public Service Commission, but we would like to make this engagement with them a regular engagement as well, so that as part of our oversight, we're able to get the information required. And the Public Service Commission does valuable work in highlighting issues that require oversight and require attention. So without further ado, let me hand over to the head of the KZN Public Service Commission, Commissioner Yasmin Bacchus.
Good morning, and thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I'm not sure if I'm audible.
You're quite audible, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Good morning, honourable members and esteemed guests, all the officials that are here this morning. Let me take this opportunity to also congratulate our new MEC for Finance, but not a new MEC. I think in Women's Month, these appointments of the Premier and the female MECs are really very, very welcome. And as the Public Service Commission, we also want to make sure that these gender targets are being met and that we are able to position women in the leadership position. And so the Public Service Commission nationally has really welcomed the appointments in KwaZulu-Natal.
Chairperson, I want to thank you so much for the invitation to the Scopa meeting. We as the Public Service Commission have really lost out, in our direct relationship with you because there was no resident commissioner for 2 years. We are really looking forward to closing this absence now and being able to liaise with you directly and collaborate on oversight matters and, to be able to work together on oversight matters. Chairperson, unfortunately, I'm a lone soldier today because my team, in a good sense as well, I should say fortunately, are on the field. They're in Newcastle doing inspections. We are doing special inspections at Department of Transport and Department of Social Development facilities around the province. So today they're in Amajuba district. So I'll be doing the presentation myself. Chairperson, the outline of the presentation, I'm not sure if the presentation needs to be put up.
Cabo, can you flight that presentation? It might assist the Commissioner.
I have mine, Chairperson, but it's I'm not sure if everybody else has it before them.
Unless you want to share your screen with us, that would be fine, or we can ask Cabo to flight it. Cabo, would you be able to?
Yes, ma'am, will do.
Okay, thanks, Chairperson. So, Chairperson, I'll continue in the meantime for the expediency of time. We're going to speak a little bit about who we are. I have to do this a little bit of a prelude because there's so much of confusion about who the Public Service Commission is and what do we do. And speak about the CVPs, which is what the reason why we are established is to promote the constitutional values and principles. A little bit on our powers and functions, our areas of oversight, which is very critical to our relationship with Scopa and other stakeholders in the meeting today, and then go right into the meat as requested by the chairperson, the business of today, the submission on financial disclosures in the KwaZulu-Natal province for the previous financial year and the 2021 as well. And then, of course, to give a quick trend analysis for last 3 years and conclude. So with regards to slide 3, thank you so much to the Secretariat for your support. We as the Public Service Commission, we're an independent constitutional body. Chairperson, we're often confused as a Chapter 11 institution. We are just, Chapter 10 of the Constitution is dedicated to the establishment of the Public Service Commission, which is the only and singular oversight body besides the legislature that deals with the public service directly on a day-to-day basis. And we don't only oversee grievances. I think there's a misnomer that we only deal with, issues of vacancies and grievances of appointments, etc. We actually deal with everything, the efficiencies around human resources, around financial resources, around appointments, even around looking at the structure, the organizational structure. Does it meet what we need to develop a capable, professional, efficient state? So we derive our powers from sections 195 and 196 of the Constitution. And we also derive it from, we have our own Public Service Commission Act and we have our own regulations and governance rules. But more important than anything else, we want to articulate in this meeting that our bosses, the only authority we report to is the National Assembly and 2 provincial legislatures. So our reports are tabled before the provincial legislatures as provincial reports by all the commissioners, and then our reports are then consolidated and then presented as national reports to the National Assembly. And we have 14 commissioners, chairperson and honorable members. We are appointed by the president, 1 for each province and 5 nationally, and they divide the national departments between themselves as clusters and then handle the queries and training, etc., and guidance and support on that level. And we are supported by what is called an OPSC, which is an Office of the Public Service Commission. It's an administrative secretariat. Next slide, please. So, Chairperson, as I said, Our main reason for our existence is to, as an organization, make sure that the constitutional values and principles become a golden thread throughout the public service, and that we are able to see this in the interests of service delivery on behalf of the citizens. So ultimately, as much as we are there as an oversight to the public service, the idea is to make sure that the services are rendered properly within the CVPs to the citizens of the country. Next slide, thank you. And perhaps just to, graphically illustrate how our governance structure works, to show that there's a chairperson, there is national commissioners and provincial commissioners, and we have a deputy chairperson, and I've outlined the same few names, and we have a few vacancies. One at national, one in the Gauteng province, which is about to be filled. The resident commissioner will be appointed very soon. And of course, in the Mpumalanga province, we're still waiting. But we have good news also, Chairperson. As of yesterday, the Honorable President has appointed our Commissioner Figeni, who many have know from UNISA as a political analyst as well, as the new chairperson of our commission. So we're very, very excited about that. And we also have Commissioner Kolomba, a female, who's the deputy chairperson. So, again, Women's Month, lots of, obviously positive strides for us in the Public Service Commission as well. Next slide, please. And the purpose of the Public Service Office, or our public office, is to make sure that we as commissioners promote a stable, effective, efficient, and results-orientated public admin. And we have to work very hard within the certain mandates and the powers we have in terms of the Public Service Act, the Public Service Commission Act, and how we can have custodial oversight over the public service. So I've put a little bit of a picture just to illustrate who we are on the next slide. Of course, all commissioners are not there because we have the new ones who have just joined us. Next slide, please, to the Secretariat. Next one, please. So this is the face of the PSC executive, and of course we'll update the picture as soon as the new pictures are taken. But more or less, I think you can see on the left-hand side, sitting on the screen, is our chairperson, our newly appointed chairperson, Professor Figeni. And right at the top with the black and white outfit and the yellow necklace is the deputy chair, Commissioner Kolomba, which is very exciting also for us. It's a generational mix. She's a youth person, and so we're very excited to have a youth female activist amongst us. So in terms of the powers and functions now, moving on, for the PSC governance structure, we are a single commission and chairperson. We, as much as we have provincial presence, we operate as a plenary. No decision is taken arbitrarily. We don't take unilateral decisions. We all work as a plenary together and make collective decision making. We interact with all relevant stakeholders. And this is why it's so important that we are able to make that connectivity with Scopa. And we thank the chairperson for the invitation today. And we really believe that our relationship with Scopa is critical. We have also written to the head of Treasury to request time, with Treasury as well, to discuss matters which we believe we can give input into. We've already met with the Auditor General's office in KZN, and nationally we've met with the AG as well to discuss all those financial issues which we are concerned about and which we have proposals with regards to improving. And I've highlighted the one in the slide which says we must maintain integrity in working closely with Parliament, with our provincial legislatures, with the executives in the provinces and the departments. And we do our best in that regard. So I will be tapping on the doors of all the executive authorities and the HODs and sitting down to see how, not to wave the stick, chairperson, but to see how we can make sure that we work together, we advise, and that we are seen as a service. If an HOD or an EA is not sure about something, they can always call us up. We can come, we can give guidance so that we are able to make sure that we are 100% compliance within the rules of the public service, and that we are able to even innovate where we can. So next slide, please. Our powers and functions, we do a lot of investigations, Chairperson. We investigate personnel practices. We look at public administration practices. Of course, the popular one that everybody seems to know us for is the grievances. We look at the grievances. Once they are exhausted within the department and they have no relief and they are not, or they are not happy, then they're able to escalate it to a Public Service Commission, and we go deep into the investigation and we make recommendations to the necessary authorities within government and follow up to see whether our recommendations are implemented within 90 days. We also have adherence to applicable procedures in the public service. If there's non-compliance, non-adherence, then we take the matter forward, and of course compliance with the Public Service Act. Then we also, besides the investigations and a lot of investigators we have and the investigative work we do, we also then monitor the organization of the, as I said, we look at the structure. We look, for example, now the new leadership has come in. We are already offering ourselves to do the induction. The Public Service Commission comes in on the induction of the new MECs to, help them to understand the guiding principles of the public service sector, and to, explain to them what can be done, what can't be done, what are the rules, what are the relevant legislations, and we give whatever support we can. We do that all the time when the new executing authorities come in, and also when the new parliamentarians come in. The Public Service Commission always comes in and makes a presentation. And so we also evaluate the personnel practices in the public service. We look at how much of the CVPs are being adhered to. We do a lot of training in that regard and work very closely with ethics officers in the departments. And we are really happy that departments are now setting up ethics officers. However, we would like more than one ethics officer in a department, so that when one goes on leave, the other one can still continue. We also then promote the CVPs. As I said, we do training with departments, with HR managers, with ethics officers, and we, also go out into the community doing training on the constitutional values and principles, because that's what we were constituted for also. That's one of our key mandates as the Public Service Commission, and we're hoping that we can continue working and the demand can grow from the public service more, and that our capacity can also improve in the Public Service Commission, so that we can go out and do that much more than we are currently doing. That's one of the things we are really striving towards. We also advise our EAs, our new MECs, and on the Public Service Act, on the recruitment issues, appointments, transfers, discharges. That's why we are available as a service. And so if there's anything that the EAs or the HODs need to cross-reference with us, they can by all means call us at any time, and we will be there to support them. We also advise the Minister for Public Service and Administration on issuing directives that will promote ethical conduct amongst members of the SMS, and to supplement the Code of Conduct and the Financial Disclosure Framework. And we do always recommend remedies regarding the resolution of grievances in the public service, and we do recommend to the executing authorities as well, in terms of the Public Service Act, whatever we have investigated, our outcomes and findings of any grievance. And we also do give directions as per the Constitution, which allows us to give directions on the compliance with CVPs and with regards to personnel procedures. So we report. We issue our reports, whatever we investigate, whatever reports we do, we will send to the legislature, but we will also send it to the relevant EAs, on whose department we have conducted those investigations and concluded a report. So whilst we will submit the report for tabling in Parliament, we will also make sure the relevant EA who is cited in that and whose department is cited in that report will also get a copy and will engage us on that report. And this is done throughout the country. Just to illustrate very briefly, Chairperson and Honourable Members, our service delivery inspections and citizens forums, we conduct a lot of service delivery inspections. The one that is currently happening is a special project, because we, through our we do a reflection on last year's results, and then we look at how we can plan on our APP for the next year to see where we are getting more complaints, where we are getting things falling out, and where we can follow up. So there's currently now a national project with province-specific inspections taking place, and provinces selected certain departments to go through to check based on the complaints that come through our complaints line at national and through the National Anti-Corruption Hotline. So we also host citizens forums, which, we have developed a citizens forum toolkit for, and annually we host in every province a citizens forum. This year we are going in October to Ilembe district to hold a citizens forum and to broadly consult, with the members of the public, with government departments and other stakeholders to look at solutions for service delivery and look at the challenges there as well. Insofar as our concentration on integrity and anti-corruption, we promote professional ethics in the public service. We have a lot of workshops, as I said, and we do annually host an International Anti-Corruption Day. We did hold one earlier in the year, this year, where we had representatives from the National Prosecuting Authority, from the SIU, from Human Rights Commission, making a lot of presentations and also unpacking, what we should be taking forward from the Zondo Commission report. So that's also part of the work we do. Something that's not often well known is that we handled the National Anti-Corruption Hotline, the NAH, for the public service. And we've been managing it as the Public Service Commission since 2004. So complaints that come through anonymous, or if they are even declaring who they are through the National Anti-Corruption Hotline, are investigated nationally. And if it's relating to a province, National sends it to us, we investigate, and then we take it through our committees and subcommittees and resolve on those matters and take it forward. If there needs to be investigated further or referred to law enforcement agencies, then immediately the PSC will then link up with the necessary law enforcement agency to take these cases forward. So we do have a close network and links with other law enforcement agencies. And we also provide a secretariat support to the National Anti-Corruption Forum. And of course, the order of the business of today, we deal with the FDFs in the public service. It's managed by us. And the purpose of this, obviously, is to promote transparency and to avoid potential conflicts of interest. We do the validation. We use the DPSA system to verify all the disclosed items that are submitted to us by the SMS members and the executing authorities. The system uses ID numbers of SMS members. We look at it's linked to CIPC, which is the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission. It's linked to eNatus as well, because we look at the vehicles they own. We look at the CSD as well, the Central Supplier Database, and the Deeds Office. So a lot of validation takes place at a provincial level in our offices. So all these above mentioned systems are linked to the DPSA verification system. And once we get these forms from the SMS members and the executing authorities, we start loading them and doing the validation. So we don't just receive the form and do a disaggregation of information. We do all that validation against those systems. And as soon as the ID number generally is logged on the system, it will automatically generate extraction reports. And so we will deal with it from there. And now going into the actual stats that we have for the KwaZulu-Natal province, the financial disclosure framework. I'm not going to explain what it is. I think Chairperson and Honourable Members, you'll have all the experience and knowledge. Just to say that the dates are that HODs and SMS members must submit their forms to the PSC by 30th April every year. And then executing authorities just get a month more, and they must submit to us by the 31st of May. And it's looking good, Chairperson and Honourable Members, in our province, although I'm not satisfied that it is 100%. So we are responsible for, as I said, the FDFs and the validation. We can pass the slide because it's just relating to the legislation. Thank you. So, Honourable Chairperson and members of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, the province in the 2020-21 financial year obtained a 99.8% rate It was a good rate. There was just one person that did not submit on time and had a problem. But the other one, for the last financial year, we dropped. It's 99.6% because it was 2 officials. So just 2 officials can make that much of a difference. We are striving as much as we can to get 100% financial disclosures on time and by all the relevant officials. So we're just hoping this can move forward. So in terms of the 2021 results, the form for the HOD for economic development was submitted after the deadline. Unfortunately, it only came through on the 11th August. But it was not out of wanting to try. There was a system issue because the MEC was changed and the MEC could not approve on the system, and the MEC's credentials were linked to another portfolio. So DPSA hadn't sorted that out up at national, and it affected our outcome. So that was just a system-generated issue which we raised with the DPSA to make sure that when the MECs change or the national ministers change, that they must make sure that they effect the necessary authorization so that we don't have these delays. Or we could have easily said it was 100%, but because it was issued late due to the system error, we got 99.8. We did identify in that year 24 cases of potential conflicts of interest, and all our findings and recommendations were submitted to the EAs, and we had 100% return on responses by the executing authorities to the PSC on actions that they had taken. So we consult with the identified SMS members if there's a problem. We monitor their performance. We look at their annual disclosures, but we didn't have anybody at that financial year that was showing any business that was done with the state. Now, moving to the breakdown per department in terms of financial disclosures per department in KZN, as you can see, all the departments complied except for the one case which I mentioned in economic development. And we can pass the next slide as well. And so just that one affected our percentage, and it came to 99. In the 2021 financial year, if we are looking at the submission by the due date, again, it's the same one. It was the economic development one, and we can pass the next 2 slides. And we can go to the slide, yes, with the color coding. So when we're looking at the total number and percentage of SMS members who did not disclose their interest in companies for the 2020-21 financial year, we had we've red coded it to show that, there were arts and culture had 2, economic development had 3, education had 3, finance had 1, health had 1, and then of course if we move on to the next slide, we had office of the premier with 2, sport and recreation with 3, transport with 3, and this is what happened on that one. So moving on to the next slide, this is how they get caught out on the system if they did not disclose. However, once we got into it, we realized that these individuals are not directly linked to the company, but they were linked through perhaps family members, etc. And so sometimes we have to then sit with them and explain to them that even though they may not be directly linked to the company, they must declare even if it's a family member. So in terms of non-disclosure of immovable properties, as I said, we are linked to other systems. We had no problems here. There was 100% disclosure by all departments. It's the same with vehicles as well. We linked to ENATIS. They had disclosed all the SMS members. The EAs and HODs had declared their vehicles, so we didn't have any problems linking it to the ENATIS, which is the only means of validation we have. Then we did, and then in terms of the findings on cases of potential conflicts of interest, as you can see, the total cases of percentages of SMS members with potential conflicts of interest there. With arts and culture, we have 2, economic development 3, education 3, finance 1, health 1, human settlements 3, office of the premier 6, public works 3, social development 2, and that's what we're looking at in terms of the potential conflict. So what happens is our team will then meet with the SMS members and discuss what was the area that was red flagged and how we can rise above it and give them advice and guidance on adherence to practices and laws and policies. In terms of actual conflicts of interest, as I said, we saw the potential, but once we sit down and get the answers and work out, we didn't identify any once we sat down with them and discussed it. So moving to the number of SMS members who are doing other remunerative work outside the public service, there were 100% declarations there. You will see the figures that are there that were declared. They have declared their the quantum as well in the next two slides. And then the gifts and the sponsorships as well. We had people complying there as well and declaring their gifts and sponsorships. This is something we also oversee from the Public Service Commission. And then moving to the executing authorities, how many, we also do our stats in terms of how many did comply with the recommendations of the Public Service Commission, because they are required to take our recommendations forward. And here, Honourable Member and Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Members, we didn't have a problem. We do have EAs working very well with the Public Service Commission, and they gave us positive responses. As you can see, we actually noted the responses. They will continue to monitor. The consultation was held by the EA and the relevant answers. So we do check. Did they give if it's required, is there a verbal or written warning required? They are required to then take it forward. But in this case, we didn't have any warnings to issue, but we are showing that we are having good relations with the executing authorities, and they do take our recommendations quite seriously. And yeah, I think we can pass all those slides and come to the slide on 31 May 2022, where we are in. Thank you so much. The KZN province received 605, that is 99.6 financial disclosure forms out of the expected 607, as I said, as of 31st May 2022. Sorry for the typo above there. We are disappointed, Chairperson and Honourable Members, that we moved from 99.8 to 99.6. But as I said, you know, we had a problem. There were just two cases. I think I explained it in the next slide. There was one case where insofar as the Department of Education is concerned, where the SMS member did not disclose the financial interest to the HOD by the deadline. It didn't come at all because the official is on suspension. But I wasn't at all happy about this. And, you know, the ethics officer said the SMS member was contacted even though they were suspended. Didn't cooperate, and so we escalated the matter to the HOD and MEC, and we're asking them to deal with this SMS member because it's not correct that you use your suspension period as an excuse. You were contacted, you should have submitted your FDF. The other one was in human settlements, and that was, again, a systems glitch. The SMS member is the ethics officer, and his financial interest could not be verified and sent to the Psc because he was required to verify his own and he couldn't. And the office advisor that ethics officer was to get assistance from another ethics officer in the department or from the office of the premier. So the validation couldn't take place on time, and they are now sorting out that system error. But it's nothing major. I was just very disappointed that the official on suspension did not comply. And of course, we are then monitoring what the EA and the HOD is doing to take this forward. So in terms of financial disclosure forms of HODs received, as I said, there's 100%. We don't have a problem with them. We passed this, thank you to the Secretariat. We have passed this, yes. We had 100% return from HODs, so they are also compliant. We're not having problems with them. They have submitted on time. And then to table 14, which is the next one, which is the trend analysis. And I've just given a year-by-year breakdown for Scopa because we're coming in after some time. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. So as the Honourable Chairperson and members can see, 2021-22, we had 99.6, and then it went up to 99.8. And in, sorry, I'm reading it the wrong way. 17-18, it's 99.6, and then it dropped again. and went up again. And then we came up, I think the better year for us was 2020-21 when we went right up to 99.8. And this year I was so hoping for 100%, but we went lucky. We dropped again by 2.2%. I'm really hoping, Chairperson, that we can put as much pressure to make sure that we have 100% compliance on the FDFs in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and that we can report so to the legislature in the ensuing financial year. And then, of course, we do the trend analysis again on the submission by the due date over the various years, which is speaking to what I just spoke to in terms of graphic representation. So, submission status also in terms of complying with the dates, and we've indicated that in the next two tables as well. Chairperson, just to round up, we have good cooperation from the departments. We have good cooperation with the executing authorities in the province. When we cross-reference with other colleagues and commissioners, we find that certain provinces does have its challenges. We do not have those challenges as yet, and we are hoping with the existing leadership and the new leadership that we'll continue to have the support in our oversight work, and that we'll continue to have this collaboration with Scopa towards achieving greater professionalism in the public service and building a capable, non-corrupt, ethical state. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bacchus. I think that presentation is useful. Of course, it's disappointing because we had prided ourselves on our 99.8%, and I think we were amongst the best performing provinces. And the going down is a bit disappointing, but I think that we'll have to address that with the two departments where this has occurred, because obviously we want that improvement. But let me open the floor to colleagues who want to raise any matters. You'll see, colleagues, that there's very important information that comes out here, and one of which is the issue of the financial disclosure, because quite often when we have the AG's reports, you will find that the AG picks up that there's a conflict of interest, etc. So this assists us. I see the hand of Honourable Cele. Are there any other hands? Okay, Honourable Cele, let's have you.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to Ms. Bacchus, and welcome to our Scopa meeting. Mine, Chair, is on the issue of grievances. As a chairperson of COCTA, I would like to know if has she received any grievances within the department of COCTA that is in her office. My second question, Chair, relates to the poor service delivery that our people continue to receive with the public servants in the province. As to check with Ms. Bacchus if have they done their research, and when it comes to that, in particular in municipalities and some government departments, for an example, with the SAPS. For an example, I'm sure you would know how many complaints communities have around the poor service that they receive. What are her plans or the provincial plans when it comes to them trying to intervene with departments with extremely, extremely poor service to our people? Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honourable Cele. Are there any others who want to have a bite? Okay, I think the presentation has been quite comprehensive. However, there are two matters that I'd like to raise. One is in relation, Ms. Bacchus, to what Honourable Kaula had raised earlier on about employees, resigning or leaving the service of a department and kind of that revolving door policy. I note that the Public Service Commission makes recommendations and advises in terms of human resource or matters, etc. Would you be able to look at something or assist perhaps, I don't know whether it's the Office of the Premier or at the national level, so that this is addressed. I'm raising this because what we find is that I think in the officials might leave here, pitch up in a municipality, leave a government department here, pitch up at a national department, and we've had several cases where people resign on the eve of facing disciplinary proceedings. Within the province, we have an agreement that if an official resigns and then pitches up in another department, the receiving department will have to proceed. And as Scopa, we track that. But the same obviously doesn't apply nationally, etc. And perhaps you could assist us on that. The second one is around the National Anti-Corruption Hotline. I think this is a very, very useful thing, but perhaps going forward, if we could be informed of the number of complaints in relation to KZN and which departments they affected, so that we can try and track them, because I think that would be useful. Also, bearing in mind what Honourable Cele said. And just for your information, Ms. Bacchus, this meeting is being live streamed, and it seems like there's been a communication from a member of the public wanting to report something. Let me hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable members. Honourable Chairperson, let me respond to the matters raised by Honourable Cele. Thank you, ma'am, for your submission. The grievances in terms of the Department of COGTA, yes, we do receive grievances. We are currently dealing with a little bit of a sticky situation where we made a recommendation which is now being challenged by the department, and they want to go to a legal opinion on it. You know, what I want to mention, Chairperson, is how we handle, and I think this is very important, how we handle the grievances and our recommendations, the kind of integrity processes we have, due processes we have internally. So let's say, for example, Honourable Cele, we have a grievance that's come from COGTA. We will investigate, we will make our findings, and we as the KZN, or myself as the KZN Commissioner, together with my team, we will make recommendations. These recommendations are not just given straight to the department. They then fit within our own internal structures, where we have cluster meetings and grievance and complaints panels, GCP panels set at national. So it will go through the cluster, which is our provincial clusters. We have three clusters of 3 provinces each, and other commissioners will sit together with their teams and their investigators, and we'll all, KZN will present the case of, for example, the one that I'm using as an analogy of COGTA. We will all deliberate, and we'll all deliberate on the findings and recommendations, and then send it up to the grievance and complaints panel, and then that will then be a national decision. Then the decision, as endorsed now, finally, at the highest level in the Public Service Commission, would then be communicated directly back through the resident commissioner to the Department of COGTA. So that is the process we follow. So it won't be a Bacchus decision or a KZN decision. It will be a decision of the PSC, and it goes through these channels, so that if we missed out something, or we are not applying objectivity, or we're showing subjectivity to a particular individual, it will be validated at that level. So yes, we have received, and we are sitting with a very sticky case, as I said, at the moment, where the former EA has decided to take our recommendation on a recruitment process to have some legal verification or legal opinion. But we are sure that whatever recommendations we've made and findings we've made are solid. And so if Honourable Cele wants a list of those that have come through in respect of COGTA for this financial year, and maybe even the previous financial year, we'll be very happy to forward this to you, so that you are able to exercise your oversight together with us. And it will really help us as well as the Public Service Commission get that much more recognition and seriousness around our recommendations and findings. So in terms of the poor service delivery and the municipalities, I have bad news for you, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members. Unfortunately, the Constitution did not grant us powers over local government. So we stuck with provincial government, and there is a national debate about whether the Public Service Commission, the powers of the Public Service Commission should actually be extended over the local government sphere, because a lot of what we're doing, the ethics training, the monitoring of the CVPs, the professional conduct, we're having a lot of violations at the local government level, and there isn't a body to really deal with it besides SALGA doing whatever it can do proactively. So that is indeed something that is out of our hands. We don't have the powers to deal with it. However, when a complaint comes through and it relates to an issue, a grievance with regards to local government or any municipality, district or local, we immediately then refer it to the DPSA, and we also do refer it directly to the leadership of that district or local municipality. So we do not turn it away and say we have no mandate. We hand it back to them for investigation. In terms of the SAPS, Honourable Member, I'm glad you asked the question. The National Commissioners, together with ourselves, as I said, we're a single commission, we are meeting every national minister. We have met with Minister Aaron Motsoaledi. We met with Minister of Public Works. We are meeting, and the chairperson has met with a few other ministers insofar as the national issues are concerned in terms of service delivery and whatever arises from our inspections. We've discussed the issue of border control even with Minister Aaron Motsoaledi just 2 months ago. So we do have those meetings, and we do take our entire investigative analysis and present it as well as our proposals. And we try to follow up to see how it's going. With SAPS, we were scheduled to meet with the Minister of Police this week, but unfortunately, I should say in the first week of September, but it's just been shifted again. We're having a little bit of a challenge there because the national Hotline is taking place. But we are meeting with SAPS as well. We have our investigative reports, which we take up to the national minister, and then of course the national minister deals with it. Nothing stops me though from also meeting with the provincial commissioner to discuss the complaints that come through over here. However, we have a rule of thumb that if it's an SAPS matter, preferably the national commissioner is handling the the minister of police portfolio, and they will take it through together with us on that matter. So we do a research as well through our investigations and our inspections. Honourable Chairperson, honourable members, we do table our reports, but upon arrival at the office here, I found that the reports of the Public Service Commission reach the legislature, but they are not given. We are not given the opportunity to come and talk to our report and present it in the main space. So we are busy liaising right now to be able to, but we do submit all the reports on time, and they are on record. We would, and some of the issues that are being raised here are speak to the research we've done, speak to the provincial stats on this. But I'm now working on how I can make sure that these are presented within the General House. Honourable Chairperson, insofar as the revolving door policy, we are liaising with DPSA. Here again, we've had a bit of a challenge in that there's been a revolving door in the leadership of the DPSA. So when we go and make our presentations, and then we are hoping that we get permanency over there as well, so that we are able to take this matter. We did table this. The national chairperson, together with all the commissioners, did speak about this. And one of the important things is to build this into the consequence management framework. We are very pleased indeed that the former premier did announce in the State of the Province address the consequence management framework that will be implemented, and we are working with the team from the Office of the Premier to see what comes up in terms of their policy and what is being written into that consequence management framework, because this is one of the issues that should be written into the consequence management framework. And we do believe that we will continue to work with DPSA to, as I said in my presentation, to give guidance and to make proposals and to give direction on these matters. And we absolutely agree with you that we should look at a clause that talks to this matter of that of officials resigning before they take responsibility for what is happening. And in terms of the National Anti-Corruption Hotline, like I said, Honourable Chairperson, we do present our stats and our reports. There are stats on KZN. I will try to forward the reports also to the Honourable Chairperson so that for distribution, so that you are able to share it with Scopa. But we do report on what comes out of KZN in terms of the National Anti-Corruption Hotline. Thank you, Chairperson. I hope I have done justice to the matters that have been raised.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bacchus. Yes, you have. And we note what you are saying. I think particularly around the issue of the revolving door, that's something that's a source of frustration to all of us, and we would appreciate that. And we note also that you are working with the Office of the Premier, because there is that consequence management framework is in place. We did receive feedback on it, and if it can be tweaked further, that would really assist us. In terms of the reports, we would appreciate if you could forward those reports to